Good day, interviewers. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Ogudijo Timilade, a qualified accountant with over 10 years experience in accounting, auditing, and business advisory services. I began my career with Bikatsili, Nigeria, after which I moved to Zim Professional Services, where I had hands-on experience in the field of statutory audit, audit planning, internal control reviews, substantive tests, financial reporting and financial report reviews. I currently lead the audit and advisory team at Dynamic Swift Minds, and my roles include audit planning, supervising of audit teams, reviewing of audit working papers, communicating findings to clients, as well as providing recommendations that can improve clients' businesses and their financial reports. I'm particularly interested in this role because it aligns with some of my career objectives, which include working with international clients, um, having the opportunity to contribute my knowledge to a collaborative audit, remote audit team, as well as learning from an organization that believes in high quality and continuous improvement. I am comfortable working remotely and as well as working on the Canadian time. I understand the difference in timing and something I'm prepared for. I see this as an opportunity to contribute my knowledge to the growth of the organization, and I will be grateful if given the opportunity to do so. Thank you. An experience that demonstrates excellence, honesty and integrity, and a can-do attitude for me was during the audit of GE West Africa. It was a 2-year audit and was supposed to be completed in 6 weeks. At the review stage, we realized that some accounting records provided by the client were incomplete. Some schedules could not be reconciled to the trial balance, and at the same time, some audit evidences were not available or were missing. Rather than seeing this as a setback for us, I worked with my team closely and allocated the tasks efficiently, and at the same time maintained a professional communication with the clients by sending our audit requests to them to help with the work. We also performed alternative audit procedures that's which should help us to generate sufficient and appropriate audit evidences to deliver high quality work. This for me reinforces the importance of teamwork and also value time, meeting deadlines, while also maintaining good and quality work. For me, these are the values I'll be bringing to my duty, my role, if given the opportunity. Thank you. One of the recent challenging and rewarding engagements for me is still reference back to the GE that I mentioned earlier. Like I said, it was a 2-year audit which was expected to be completed in 6 weeks. I was the team lead, so my role includes planning the audits, conducting the risk assessment of the engagement, um, allocating the work efficiently, supervising the field work, monitoring and supervising the audit working papers of the team members, maintaining constant communication with the client to get our audits information needed and evidences, communicate our findings to the clients, and as well provide recommendations. In above all, to ensure that the engagement is completed at the right time with the right high quality that is expected. Um, for us to achieve this, I engaged my team member and we developed a risk-based audit approach. We analyzed the risk areas and we focused on the high risk areas of the um, account, and as well as performed our materiality test and obtained the material account balances. Um, we did this, and we also adopt alternative audit procedures too. In addition to this, An example is while ascertaining the correctness of the receivable balances, we obtain the account ledgers, individual customers' account ledgers that are materials to our engagement. We obtain the invoices that relates to these customers, as well as the cash receipts to them after payment. For the ones they could supplied, we able to ascertain, we'll be able to get. For the cash receipts that are not available, we rely on the bank statement. So, and we were able to trace one on one the receipts from this customer into the bank as well as their ledgers. So we did this for the samples chosen based on the materiality test that was conducted. Not only is it applicable to the receivables, it was also applicable to the payables and other areas too, like the PPE, which seems to be material to our findings. We had to do bank confirmation for the payments for these items bought. So we're able to complete this in no time, and we're able to do this because of planning and the teamwork with my team members. Though it was challenging, but we were able to achieve this at the required time. If starting the annual audit of a non-profit organization for the first time, the first thing I would do is to ascertain the firm's independence and ethical compliance. I would evaluate if there are any risks associated with accepting that audit engagement, and at the same time document every terms of engagement in the engagement letter. So the next thing for me now is to understand the organization, their mission, their governance structure, their processes, their donor agencies, the activities, their key programs, their donor agencies, the requirements, their regulations. Then the next thing is to carry out a overall risk assessment of the organization, and it's usually for NGO. It is usually around the funds, the revenue, and the expenses, and it is this is ascertained whereby the donor agencies is understood and the regulations, the terms of references that is required of the organizations is also understood. The next thing is also to evaluate the risk assessments associated with the financial statements now itself, and by performing the overall materiality test and as well as the performance materiality of the financial statement. Also, the next thing is to carry out internal control process review. So review that to ensure that the there are processes in place and the processes are being followed. So I'm going to do a walkthrough test to ensure that the processes from the initiation of transaction to the completion to the document to the reporting in the financial statement are duly followed. This will determine the level of my substantive test. Then the next thing is to then carry out my audit planning, allocate the team members efficiently as it is required, give a deadline, and supervise the work continuously, progressively, till it is being completed at the required time. Thank you. During the field work and I observe some material misstatement, I will bring out the material ones, the larger ones that are glaring, that in comparison to our materiality benchmark. I'll communicate this to the management and be requested that their figures be adjusted in the financial statement. For the smaller misstatements, I would accumulate several mistakes, smaller ones that was noticed, and compare the total to the materiality benchmark. If it is in line, I will also communicate this to the management that this figure be adjusted in the financial statement. However, if this is not agreed to, I would evaluate the impact on the audit's opinion and discuss the matter with the engagement partner. And I would also communicate with the audit committee or board and stating the reason for the causes of the material misstatement, and prefer state the implication and prefer recommendation as to how to improve uh, things better in the subsequent years. During audit busy seasons, I start each week by reviewing the engagements that are with me. I ascertain their deadlines, their completion stage, and as well as the information required to get the work completed. I prioritize my work based on the deadlines, the risk involved, and the complexity of the work. And for every engagement that I handle, I have a daily task plan for each of my engagements. I usually design a checklist, and as I'm progressing, I tick the checklist. If there will be a need for me to move from one engagement to another more pressing engagement, I'll communicate this with my team member, and if possible, assign responsibilities to them from based on where I stop, for them to continue and also do the checklist. By the time I'm done with that most pressing one that came in suddenly, I will go back from where my members stop and pick it up from there. Audits generally usually come at seasons that we call peak period, that we have several works which have had the opportunity to be a part, where you have to juggle in between different engagements. And with these experiences have taught me to be more organized, to plan my work, and so that I can meet the deadlines. I've been able to navigate through these seasons, and at the same time submit high quality jobs at the required deadlines. This has been an area for me that I've worked upon. I have gained strength over time, and I will appreciate it. I'll be able to bring this to the organization if given the opportunity to work with you. Thank you. After reviewing the organizational process, I discover the areas of strength I discovered is one, um, the segregation of approval responsibilities, where the executive director had to approve for payments less than $5,000, and the board treasurer had to approve for payments above 5,000. This is a good area of control for approval limits. Also, another area of strength that I also discover is the area whereby the finance and admin coordinator had to input the invoice information, how to study invoice information on the accounting software, the cloud-based accounting software. This allows for information retrieval, real-time posting, then gives room for good audit trail. These are good areas of strength that the organization have. Now, for the areas of weaknesses, the one that is so key and is evident is where we have the finance and admin officer in charge of collecting the invoices from vendors, um, imputing their details and the amount. He has to then preparing the checks, signing the checks, sending it to bank for payment, sending the checks to the vendors, and then at the same time preparing the bank reconciliation, though it was mentioned that it gives a weekly report. But we discovered that the duties here is not being segregated. One person having to do all of this is an area of weakness. The correct practice should have been that we have another officer in charge of a bank reconciliation, not him doing that. The risk that I see here is that there is tendency or the possibility of for the finance and admin officer to make fictitious payments and at the same time conceal fraud, execute fraud, because he is in charge of the process initiating payment, the process from the beginning. Though he does not approve, but he prepares the information, the money to be paid, the information for payments, he writes the check, and at the same time does the reconciliation. This line of activities in between can allow for fraud to happen, for which it will not be early detected if proper internal audit activities is not carried out. It is advisable that these responsibilities should be shared such that the admin does not sign the check nor do carry out the bank reconciliation statement. The signing can be done by the executive director or the treasurers, the board treasurers. My audit approach to this is to carry out a substantive test around cash and bank and vendor ledgers. I'm going to expand my scope of samples around the vendors and obtain their balances. I mean, for the sampled ones, send confirmations. For those who have responses, who we have their responses, we work with them. For those whom we could not ascertain their responses, we carry out detailed vouching of their suppliers' invoices from to the bank payments. So we match the suppliers' invoices to the bank payments, and we also look at any outstanding reconciling items and investigate those reconciling items thoroughly to be sure that we have an accurate and appropriate audit evidences for our work. Okay, thank you.